Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Unleashed with Megan. I'm Megan Rovnak, your host. And today I am very excited to introduce Gail Kalbfleisch, a very good friend of mine who has a really powerful story to tell and share with you and some of the key takeaways and things that she learned. So first, I'm going to turn it over to Gail to tell us just a little bit about herself and a little bit about her background before we hop right in.
Hi. Thank you, Megan, for having me. Yeah, a little bit about myself. I have been a single mom for all of my adult life, and I was raised primarily by a single mother. The interesting thing that we're going to talk about a little later is some things that I learned while my mom was away when I was a teen, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. I've been in the Air Force as an enlisted person. I've been a internationally certified biomedical equipment repair technician. I've been a college student, and then I've been a federal employee, which is one of the things that I currently am. And I've also, in the not too distant past, became a business owner and the founder of a and I think I'll leave it at that. There's a couple of more things going on in my life, but I think I'll leave it at that.
That is a fantastic list full of many. It sounds like you would have many stories to share and experiences to share. So maybe we'll have you back on. So today you're going to tell us you did a great job of getting everybody wondering what happened to you when you were a teenager that you're going to share with us. So please go ahead and talk a little bit about this. I assume is one of the major challenges in your life, experiences, things that you had to overcome, and tell us a little bit about it and tell us a little bit about how you got there and how you got past there.
So it is one of the challenges I've had in my life. I hesitate a little bit to call it a major challenge because I think at the time everything's a major challenge, and with time kind of lessens a little bit. But pretty much anybody would call this a major challenge. So when I was a teenager, my mother, very quiet, ended up being arrested and sent to prison for 2 years for a white collar crime. And in fact, she was never, the prosecution was never able to prove it, but mom felt so bad about it, she admitted to performing a white collar crime. And so she went to prison from the time I was 15 until I was 17. And she came back when I was 17. The two of us lived together for about a year and a half before I, in my youthfulness, met someone and moved out. Then I joined the Air Force. Here's the thing, some of the things that I've learned. Probably the number one thing that I've learned is just because the behavior of someone else affects your life, number one, does not mean that they did it on purpose. I can guarantee you my mother did not go, if I do this, it's going to completely upset my daughter's life for her entire life. That was nowhere in her thought processes. She did not think that it would be something that would oppress me, make me feel bad. So that's probably the number one thing that I've learned is, people do things that are sometimes hurtful, sometimes, devastating. And quite frankly, they weren't thinking about you when they did it. They may have thought they were.
Wait. You mean the whole world does not revolve around me? Not every decision everyone ever made.
I can promise you I have never woken up in the morning and said, what can I do today upset Megan?
All right.
Nor have I, quite frankly, thought of what can I do to make Megan's day better.
Well, at least I just wasn't in there at all.
Yeah. So that's probably the main thing. And so that has helped me as I go through my life when I stop and I think about something someone did, right? And even if I can't think of how can what they did have not meant to hurt me, right? I have the ability to choose to believe that, what Megan said, there's no way she meant it for my harm. So therefore, I'm going to take it as it was meant for positive with me. And that to me is probably one of the most profound skill sets a person can have. I
That
never
is
want.
that's really amazing. I think that you're absolutely right. That is something that when we're caught up in a feeling or an experience, we are caught up in it. And we just sometimes we lack the perspective. And you used that word earlier, and then you just basically everything you just said was expounding upon having really good perspective in those situations.
Yeah,
So that means you always have good perspective now, right? Like you never lose perspective.
I never fall back into the opinion of saying, so and so did me wrong. No, sure I do. I just hope that I get to pull out of it a little quicker, especially now. To be honest with you, I can't do it while I am emotionally involved. Sometimes I have to let a minute or two pass by, and then I can go back to them and say, I'm sure you did not mean this to harm me. But right now, I can't see any other way. Could you help me understand what you were thinking when you said or did this? I had a recent experience where someone took something I said, and instead of coming back and talking to me, they went to other people and said, you know, she said, and this is how I interpreted it. What else could she have meant by it? And but didn't come back and ask me. Well, nobody else was in my body or in my thought processes, so all they heard was their side. So if you want your side, how you are feeling justified, go talk to someone else, because you're going to tell them your side of the story. If you want to know what that person meant, you need to come back to them in a very rational, very calm manner and saying, hey, help me understand, because right now I don't. And I've had to do that from time to time. But largely it's because I learned that, in all honesty, when I talked to mom about what she did, she thought she was doing us good and was
That
willing
thank
to,
you
yeah, she was
for
willing
bringing that
to
up.
pay the time. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, it's what it is. And that's
So
one of the
how did
things
you
I've,
feel when you were in the midst of that initial experience? How did you feel initially? And then you were just talking about how like now you can say I know she didn't mean to do, she wasn't like, oh, I'm going to do something that's going to have a negative impact on my kids. She was actually trying to do something positive that just had a negative result. How did that shift for you over time from the initial happening at the very beginning to the experience while she was gone to the perspective you got?
yeah. So I have to give kudos to my mom, because mom sat down with me before she told anybody else, before she told her lawyer, before she told anybody, and told me that this is what I did and I made a mistake. And then she and I had a nice talk about, I'm sorry, this is going to bother you, this is going to go with you, you're going to be embarrassed, whatever, right? And we had a long talk right then about the fact that she was already sorry for the effect it was going to have on me. And that helped me, because I never went through that, oh my, mom's in jail because of me, because I knew it wasn't. I knew that she hadn't abandoned me because I knew she didn't, right? So I have to give a lot of credit to my mom. And then I had some adults, most of them were in my junior high school, that listened to me the next day while I told the story over and over and over and over again. And by the end of the day, I could get through the story without crying. I had already told a lot of people, so it didn't bother me to talk about it. And I really do think that had a lot to do with me not fixating on mom's gone, mom's hurt me, oh, I'm such a victim. And I believe that we can choose not to be a victim at any time. And you don't have to be 20. You don't have to be 30. It doesn't have to be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years after the event to choose not to be a victim. You can choose that at the time.
That is so powerful, Gail. That is really, really powerful topic, concept. The idea that it's a choice and that you can choose it at any time. Now, there are obviously actions that have to happen and other things that happen around you, but ultimately is a choice you can make. Hard choice in a lot of cases, or in some cases, but still a choice.
Yeah. I'll tell you
Have you
what.
found other times in your life where you've applied this knowledge, experience, skill?
Yeah, I was going to say that I had a good family and friends group around me when it happened with Mom. And I have employed that same thing when I'm away from family, family's off doing other things. I have built my own family throughout my life. And I have found that when I have a good support structure, it's a lot easier for me not to be the victim. And, I've had times where people have claimed that I'm using the victim card when all I'm doing is trying to find a workaround that works both ways. So, and yet again, if you hear it from my side, I'm not being a victim. So then I have to go talk to the other side and find out why they felt that way. Yeah, if I were to say that there are 3 things that I really learned from Mom being gone during that critical period of my life, number one, they're all going to sound very similar because this is the one topic we're talking about here, but don't let it define you. Don't let it define you. I did not go back to school the daughter of a criminal. So don't let it define you. So therefore it's not going to affect your future. Don't be a victim. Choose not to be a victim. Make that choice, right? So you're not going to let it define you, but you're also not going to be a victim. And then thirdly, it's the power of surrounding yourself with people who are going to support you.
Those are 3 great ones. Let's talk a little bit about the people around you. Have you ever found yourself in the course of your life where you just sort of maybe unintentionally or maybe intentionally slipped into a group of people, or kind of found yourself in a group of people, like you sort of looked up one day and you were like, wait a minute, how did I end up here? And if so, kind of what did you do? How did you take that knowledge, that experience, and then apply it to that other situation?
Yeah, I'm gonna assume you mean you look up and you go, how did I find myself here? This is not who I want to be. Is that what you mean?
Or where I want to
Yeah,
be, or who I want to be
right.
around, or whatever that might have looked like.
Sure. I think what we find is oftentimes we get with a group of people because maybe it's where we're at the time, or maybe you misread them. And sure, I've looked up and I've gone, yeah, this is not feeling comfortable. Regardless
Right.
of how or why you got there, well, you're not comfortable now. You're not where you want to be. You're not being around the people you want to be. I've had to cut myself off and go find a group of people who are where I want to be. I have from time to time cut off, or yeah, I have from time to time I've had to stop talking to certain members of my family because they
That can
are
be
negative,
hard.
bringing me down, pulling out the absolute wrong behavior out of me. And it is hard, but for one, when I was raising my son, it was very important to me to surround myself with people who would help me have the right attitude and right mindset while raising my son, and it's just but I am a firm believer sometimes you just grew too, right? You Whatever experience happened, you grew, and it's nothing against the people you're around necessarily. Sometimes it might be, but I think more often it's just that you've changed your goals, you've changed your perspective. What I needed when before my son was born was completely different than the crowd I needed after my son was born.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I moved into senior leadership in the federal government, well, I didn't need to be hanging around, you know, airman first classes, because I had a different perspective in life at that point in time. And, you know, moving on can sometimes mean moving away, but it doesn't have to mean moving away. You can stay friends. You're just not taking their direction as to what your advice is for, what the next step is.
Yeah, what a great point about growing. Yeah, it can be that when you started in that place, it was a good place, but
Mm-hmm.
you grew beyond it. You grew bigger. You grew beyond those people because sometimes they weren't also growing,
Right?
which can be a
Yeah.
bummer whenever it's people you wish, because there are there are many different kinds of things people can bring into your life. I think that's a
Right.
really great point. Yeah.
Yeah. The interesting thing on that is I have come back in contact with some people that we had kind of lost contact because we were in different places. But you know what? Sometimes they make that move only later. Sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
because they were later getting into the spot where we both were, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and here's one of the big things. I have found that even the people who are negative, I've learned something from. And I can always find something to love about the people who were in my life at that time. And I don't spend a lot of time going, "Oh, I shoulda, woulda, coulda," right? When it comes to my friend groups, because they were what I needed at the time, and they deserve my respect for that. Deserve my loyalty and my care. And so even if I'm not hanging with someone, that doesn't mean that they're not still in my heart.
That's fantastic. So, a lot of things in there, but one that kind of passed through my mind as you were talking is that life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And I felt like some of what you were saying was along those lines, right? It's for you to
Yeah,
grow, it's for you to learn, it's for you to be more
help
than you
others.
are today. Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's part of
You
for
know,
you, right? Helping others is
right.
such a valuable part of, I think, personally, I think our existence.
I agree. I hear a lot of people saying, surround yourself with people who are where you want to get to,
Hmm.
who are where you want to be. And I don't disagree with that. But if you always surround yourself with people who are where you are going, you never get to bring anyone along with you. You don't get to mentor anybody, you don't get to pour into their lives. So I think you have to have a healthy mix of people in your people group. And quite frankly, I have people in my people group even today that are, from a professional standpoint, some that are a professional and character standpoint, some that are there only pouring into my character, some are friends, so having a healthy mix, I think, is really important. Can you find all of those people in the people you work with? Maybe, if you're lucky. I find that I like a healthy mix. It kind of makes my life more in harmony, shall we say?
Hmm.
Oh, I get a really nice mosaic out
Hmm.
of
Yeah,
mixing
yeah.
the input from my various friends.
That's fantastic. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Gail. Well, we had a lot of good gems in there. There were a lot of good gems in there. The whole reason that we do this podcast and why I bring on people like you is because I really want people to understand that everyone around them has gone through something. Everyone has a story, and there's such
Absolutely.
value in hearing those stories and learning from other people's experiences as well as your own. And the more you can do it with intentionality and look at a situation to see what the things you were just talking about, right? To see what it was that I learned, to see who it is I can help or did help, and be conscious and intentional about learning from those experiences and implementing that is just super valuable. And it's amazing when it's people who get on really big stages. And I think it is just as powerful and meaningful to realize that the person that you're sitting beside on the subway or that you just walked past in a crosswalk has a story, and it's worth hearing.
Absolutely. And it's important to share that story if you can, if you're able. And it doesn't matter whether it's on a big stage or a small stage or no stage. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
Well, I think we're going to
Yeah.
wrap it up with that. Yes, it's important to share it. I thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your openness and your willingness to share and your thoughtfulness. So I hope to have you back again, because I think you have some more stories that we could enjoy hearing and learn from. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
And
Megan. It
thank
was
you,
a pleasure to be here.
thank you. And everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and get ready to listen to the next episode of Unleash with Megan.